Like I've said many times here before, my next guest does not like getting paid by the hour because he's coming off another first round finish, this time over Tresean Gore, UFC Vegas 58 back on July 9th. It's Cody Brundage back here on the program. Cody, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, pleasure is all mine, man. What a win that was. First round knockout. Could that fight have gone any better?
No, I think it went pretty much perfect according to plan. Uh, I knew I could do that. I told everyone I could do that. I don't think many people were believing it, but now they do.
There was it seemed like a lot of back and forth leading up to the fight. There's that great photo, which by the way, I see you have is your profile photo, I think on Instagram of, you doing one of these. Was the fight personal going in or was that just gamesmanship?
It's never personal. I know Tresean talks a lot of trash. That's kind of how he hypes himself up for a fight. And I'm not one to let somebody just kind of chat at me. And so I knew he'd have something smart to say at the face-offs. He did the same kind of thing with Bryan battle. And so I had what I was going to do in my mind. I'm not a big talker, like I said. So I just gave him a little shush. And then, the beauty of this sport is that no matter what's said, you only get about 36 hours and then you got to handle business in the cage. So it wasn't personal. I don't ever really let that affect me too much. But yeah, I feel good to get the win for sure after all the BS before.
Yeah. Had you had an opponent like that before that kind of tried to do that type of stuff? I was trying to remember some of your past fights. Have you had an opponent like that who tried to, maybe say some stuff to hype up the fight a bit?
When I fought Dalton Roast as an amateur, there was a little bit of heat going into that one. The second Lozano fight, there was definitely a little bit of heat, but nothing like that really. Nothing at face-offs, nothing. I saw Tresean more than I've ever seen any other opponent I've ever had the week of the fight. So, that was kind of interesting and annoying all at once. So, yeah, it was definitely a different experience.
I know you're confident in your hands and your striking, but that was the first time Tresean's been knocked out in his career. Does that add a little bit more, or was that even something you were aware of going into the fight?
I was aware of it afterwards. I wasn't aware of it before, but I did. Somebody made me aware that that was the first time he'd been finished in his career and the first time he's been knocked out. So obviously, I felt pretty good about it, and because like I said, more than anything, I was just more annoyed that I felt like people were like, Cody has to shoot for his life if he's going to win this fight. And I never felt like that was the case. I feel like I'm well-rounded. I feel like I'm getting better every fight. So to get the knockout just shows what I'm capable of, that I'm more well-rounded than people give me credit for.
Was there anything at all in the fight that surprised you? I know it was quick, but, after the fact, and maybe there's some things you look back on, was there anything at all that was unexpected?
I thought he would come a little harder. I thought he'd have a little more volume just because he took so much flack in that Bryan battle fight. I think, I really expected those low kicks to come. Just kind of some of the interviews that I'd seen him doing, and he was talking about, I'm not just a boxer, I forgot that, and those kind of things. And I thought his low kick was his best weapon. And he was doing pretty well with it. I feel like I was checking the majority of them, but, even when you check them, they still don't feel great. So, yeah, nothing really too surprising. I knew I'd be able to take him down. I took him down, I think, in like the first 10 seconds. And people were like, wow, he popped right back up. But my game plan wasn't take him down, hold him down. I just kind of wanted to wear on him, make him aware of the takedown, just because it opens everything else up. So nothing was really too surprising. I feel like at Factor X, we do a really good job of game planning and watching film. And personally, I watch a ton of film. And, obviously it leads to having my expectations are pretty realistic when it comes to fight night.
How'd you celebrate after the win? I got to preface this by saying you're a dad. So, people thinking, popping bottles at the club, probably not on the agenda for a big win like that. But what did you get up to?
Me and my team, we just went out, had dinner. My wife she came out to town. We had a babysitter back in Colorado watching my daughter. So super low key night. I think I had like one beer and I was like, all right, I'm ready to go to bed. And, I knew I have a lot coming up. So we got back Sunday. I had to repack all my stuff because I flew out Tuesday with Dustin for Long Island. So I'm in New York right now. So the grind never stopped. So it wasn't really party too much. I told Dustin we'll get a beer after his win. But also the people I had with me, I had Colin Anglin with me, who's fighting July 23rd. So he wasn't really partying or celebrating. And I had Dustin, who's fighting this week. So he's not partying or celebrating. So low key night for me, which is how I prefer it anyway. So it worked out.
Anyone win any money on your fight? Because you were the underdog going in. I saw in the betting lines.
Yeah, it was funny. As we're walking backstage, Dustin and Colin, they're big bettors. They're like, we made that money. They would never tell me before. Some people don't care. I'd rather not hear that my friends are betting on me. But they're like, made us that money afterwards, and we're all laughing and joking about it. So I know a few people cash their bets on me for sure.
Well, I would think the knockout prop too, because he hadn't been finished before, must have been pretty decent. Because you were already an underdog, so then you had the knockout prop on top
Yeah,
of
I
that.
think
Or
a knockout was like plus 900 or something like that.
what?
So
That's crazy. That's
yeah,
crazy, man.
that's what I
Oh.
try to tell people, man. I felt like, no, like Tresean's got good striking. He's a powerful dude, but like he's knocking guys out on the regional scene. And if you go look at my first 3 fights, those are the guys that he's fought that he's knocked out. And I knocked out the first 3 guys that I fought, same level as him. I knocked them all out in a minute. It's just a different level when you get in the UFC and you're fighting a different caliber of guy. And so I think that really showed through. And I feel like if people would have done a little more research, maybe that prop wouldn't have been so high.
Now, you were telling me in the interview leading up to this fight, you have a lot going on. You mentioned cornering Jacoby, and then I think you told me you had a wedding or something to go to. Like, what's on the agenda, like going forward? And I guess my follow-up question to that would be, when are you looking to get back in there?
So I'm cornering Dustin this week, and then I'm going to go to South Carolina. Colin's fight just happened to be like in my hometown, so I'm going to corner him, and then we're going to stay out there for like a week so my daughter can hang out with her grandparents and just use it as an excuse to be home. And then I'm back in the gym, training again, and I'll be ready. I think I had 8 weeks for this fight. That seems to be a pretty good timeline. I'm cool with waiting. I want to get one more before the end of the year. It's kind of like short time to get 2, so I just want to focus on maybe getting one more and having another successful outing. My goal for this year was 3-0, so I feel like that's doable, and I'll be ready.
Any opponents of mine? Any fun fights looking at that division that you think would be cool?
I've called out Andre Petrosky a couple times. I think he finally hit me back up on Twitter. He's like, "You still want to do it?" I'm like, "Man, whenever you want." So I don't know if they'll make that fight. I think they're really trying to push him. I think I'm a terrible matchup for him. I know he looked really good in that Maximov fight, but if you look at us on paper and what we bring to the table, I think it's a bad matchup for him. I'm sure he probably thinks he's a bad matchup for me, but I wouldn't mind that fight. Like I said, I've told you before, anybody that was on The Ultimate Fighter, anybody that's coming off Contender Series, I feel like we're all kind of around the same point in our career, same point in experience and things like that. And so I feel like there's tons of options for me. And I'm excited about that. Winning kind of breeds those options. And we're just going to try to keep winning. That's it.
And last question, just something I don't think I've asked you before. I was just kind of curious about this. Your wife, Amanda, I know you call her Bobby. Is she planning on returning to fighting? Obviously, I know she's a mom now. Is that still on the table, or is it just, motherhood is the focus right now?
We've talked about it. She's just now getting back into training. We finally got to a point with our daughter that we feel like she's we kind of have an idea of what's going on. So it's easier to like leave her with a babysitter for a few hours every now and again and not feel stressed about that. So she's back to training 3 times a week. I think she has thought about fighting again. I think it's obviously she ought to be training full time, which she can't do yet. But she's only 30 years old. She's not old or out of her prime, even though I tease her that she is, but she's still got plenty of good years ahead of her. So, I mean, I don't think it's out of the question. I think she could fight again, and just getting back in the swing of it and getting back into fighting shape is the biggest hurdle. But yeah, I could definitely see fighting again for her for sure.
That'd be cool, because I mean, there's not many, obviously there hasn't been that many married couples in the UFC before, right? So I mean, that would be cool if she could make her way back and you guys could be under the same banner. I'm sure that's something you've talked about, right? So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it'd be awesome. I know how much she misses it, how much she loves it. So I would love for her to get back in there and just kind of, not that she's given up on her dreams or anything, just being a mom, she's really allowed me to take the step of being full-time fighter while she takes the mom role. So for her to be able to take back fighting a little bit would be cool for both of us.
Since she's an alumni of the Ultimate Fighter, what does she think of you trying to take out these Ultimate Fighter competitors? Does she think it's funny?
It was funny because with her, they don't. So sometimes UFC is weird. They don't count the Ultimate Fighter fights because they're exhibitions.
Some of the seasons they do, some of the seasons they don't, which is interesting.
Or
but I think
some of the cards they say that they do, and then other ones. So I was saying well, he's only 3-1. She's like, well, he's 5-1 because he won on Ultimate Fighter. I tease her. I'm like, that doesn't even count, but no, it's good. She's, she doesn't care. She was happy I didn't go on the show. I think a lot of people forget that, man. Like I was offered to go on that show, and it happened to be like the week that my daughter was supposed to be born, and that was a decision that we made together that I wasn't going to miss that. I felt like I could get into the UFC without the show, and obviously it worked out. But I had every opportunity to go on there. It wasn't like they were like, you're not good enough to be on the show, so we don't want you on there. Sometimes these tough guys, I've been seeing a lot of talk, and I'm not a big fan of it. Bryan Battle, I saw tweeting something about my sons. It's good to see my sons fighting or some something like that with me and Tresean because we fought as amateurs and he beat me as an amateur. I'm like, I don't appreciate it, bro. I don't appreciate the passive aggressive kind of trash talk. You know, especially with Bryan going down in weight, I think it's corny. Like we're not going to see each other. I'm not going to go trash talk any 170s because I'm never going there. So what's the point? But yeah, and Tresean, he's a tough guy talking a lot of trash. I don't know. Sometimes I think that the show kind of puts people in an elevated space where they feel like because they have had so much exposure maybe and they have more fans and they think that they deserve certain things that I don't necessarily think they deserve. And I don't know. I don't like it. I think they're a little chippy. I'm gonna be chippy back. Yeah, it's interesting to me, that whole dynamic. And it's interesting too because you come off a win and then you kind of look like I've always put my phone up right after a win. So my phone's blown up the next few days and I'm just getting to look at stuff and I see like all the things people are saying. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's how you feel. Because I've been around Bryan Battle. We've had good interactions. So for him to like kind of talk trash kind of pissed me off a little bit. But, you know, whatever.
On to the next one.
Yeah.
Cody, thanks for doing this again. I know you got a million things to do. I don't want Jacoby getting mad at me here. So if you got anything you want to plug, any sponsors, social media, anything like that, man, the floor is yours.
I just want to shout out my team as always, man. Factory X, love those guys, love my coaches, my family. Obviously, you know, I got the best support system in the world and I wouldn't be where I am without them. So just always going to take the opportunity to shout them out, man. I appreciate you having me on.